That's right, Stephen P. New, and what you hear there, the sound of light. We are traveling to the future. We are here, another time travel special, and we're about to talk about AEW Dynamite. Did that make sense?
Dynamite!
Stop. You're parroting J.J. Walker. Stop it.
Parroting or parodying?
Parroting.
Or perhaps imitating?
Oh.
Or even possibly homaging? But nevertheless, what is the speed of light, Brian Last? Do you remember?
I think that was it.
186,000 miles per second, I'll have you know. And that's what I wish I had a fast forward feature for whenever we have to watch Dynamite. We've gone away. Did you miss us? We've come back after watching Dynamite. We're going to get all this other miscellaneous falderall and shenanigans out of the way from the week in wrestling on this program, and then the onslaught begins on the experience this weekend of SmackDown and WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2, and who knows what's going to happen on the Hall of Fame and a blah, blah, blah. And we go from there. So Dynamite for March 29th. Remember all the times that I've said, you know, that Jungle Boy, when he's in there against one of his flippy friends, it's a mess. But when he's in there with a veteran that knows how to lead a match, the fucking kid's great, right? They broke that string. And I think it's because Matt was trying to have the young fellers match or whatever semblance he could, or do the stuff the young folks do rather than teach this kid how to. It was the things that happened made no sense to me. They started out wrestling, and then all of a sudden, Jungle Boy goes for a dive. Matt catches him and gives him that side slam on the floor that looked like it should have broken him in half. Did you see that, by the way?
I did.
What impact? Boom! Shakalaka. And then, when Matt gets back in the ring and draws the referee's attention, the other Page, who is there at ringside with him, grabs Jungle Boy and chucks him over the barricade out into the crowd. And then Aubrey Ed turns around, and what is she expected to think? Jungle Boy, who just got sidewalk slammed on the floor, is suddenly out in the fucking third row. But it didn't matter anyway. The interference, because moments within 10 seconds, Jungle Boy was back firing back and diving off the barricade on offense at 100% after the interference and the big move on the floor. And then they had a fight on the apron that I swear to God, once again, old Aubrey Ed was standing there just staring at him, slack-jawed, while not counting, while they're just going back and forth on the apron and nobody's falling off or whatever. And then finally, Matt drops Jungle Boy on the apron and breaks him in half again, and they go to the break. And when they came back from the break, after all that, Jungle Boy's making a comeback. But then the other Page distracts him again, and Matt Hardy hits a superplex. And the other Page jumps up again, because they're trying to tell the story that Page is interfering, or at least trying to help, and Matt Hardy doesn't want him to help. But it doesn't matter, because right as the other Page is getting up and yelling at the referee for actually no apparent reason, hook music. And he comes out, and he and the other Page start doing duck spots on the floor, and Page nails Matt by mistake. And then Page and Hook fight off, right on off. And the Jungle Boy and Matt go back to the match, and Jungle Boy hits a backslide and gets a 2 count. They're still going to go. After all this, they're still going. Jungle Boy, instead of just beating him with the backslide then, because how much more falderall do you have to go? Then he kicks him, hits a big move, and hits a shitty-looking elbow to the back of the head, and then pins him. It could have won with the backslide while everybody was halfway up, and instead he just then hammered him 4 more times and beat him. What'd you think?
I wasn't really into it. I mean, it was Matt Hardy and Ethan Page against Jungle Boy. I knew Jungle Boy was going to win. I haven't really been into a Matt Hardy match in a long time. You know, you said Jungle Boy when he's in there with a veteran. Matt Hardy's not that kind of veteran. He's the kind of veteran who wants to, you know, party with the kids as opposed to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. It's just the way it is.
But anyway, then suddenly MJF's music plays, and here comes MJF to face off with Jungle Boy in the center of the ring. And again, MJF does an incredible promo on Jungle Boy, mentioning his ex-partners Marco Stunted Growth and Dino Douche.
Told you.
Well, I said, did I?
I said Dino Douche. You said
you
Dino
said
Douche.
Dino, and I said Dino. MJF said Dino, so it's a
so
New
I
York
win.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a New York thing. You guys talk funny. But anyway, so we don't need to praise MJF's promo that much more. He cuts an incredible promo on Jungle Boy and how that, you know, he built him up. He got respect for him when they wrestled, but, you know, he had told him this advice: forget your clown friends and be out for yourself and you'll be fine. And Jungle Boy then starts the response with his normal kind of lackadaisical mush mouth. But by the time he got into it and he worked himself up and he actually had some fire and emotion, he actually did a pretty good goddamn promo. And he told MJF, he said, forget his fucking advice, because he'd rather be able to look himself in the mirror and win the AEW championship and be proud of himself and blah, blah, blah. So he actually did a good fucking job there. I must give him some small smattering of applause. The problem is this is probably going to be a good TV match, but there's no way it works on pay-per-view, is there?
I don't think so. And that was one of my thoughts watching this. Is it going to end up being a multi-person match with all the pillars? Or are they actually just going to do Jungle Boy versus MJF as a
Can't they just
match?
do one pill at a time instead of all the pillars at the same time?
You know, you're right that Jungle Boy worked himself up to doing as good a job as we've seen him do on a promo, especially in front of the building. But it took a while to get there, it felt like.
Yeah. Well, because he had to talk himself into it. See, that's the thing. He's admitted he doesn't have confidence in promos and doesn't like to do them, and you can tell. But he actually got into that. And then, so he gives the big response, and then MJF, here's something that nobody has even brought up as far as I've seen or mentioned. MJF tells Jungle Boy that he talked to Jungle Boy's hot girlfriend, Anna Jay, and Anna Jay says that Jungle Boy is weak between the knees. And of course, then Jungle Boy tackles him. But let's back up before we get to the fight. Why is the girlfriend of one of the sweet, kind baby faces in one of the top heel groups appreciating fucking, wasn't she Anna JAS?
No, she still is, I think. I mean,
well, then why is she appreciating Jericho? Shouldn't she be Anna JP? Jungle Boy Jack Perry?
Must be a weird conversation when she comes home after a day of work. So, how are things with Chris?
What happens if you know, yeah, if they're on the opposite side of the ring? Does she interfere and poke him in the eyes or whatever? Why are they, if it's going to be made public, why haven't they split Anna JAS out of the JAS, because that's not important compared to the world champion and who he's fucking working with? My question.
I don't know.
And there's your answer. All righty, but then Jungle Boy tackles him and they get in a fight, and Jungle Boy hits him with a big ass clothesline, and before he can do anything else, MJF bails out. So it was an okay match, but a really good promo segment.
Hot crowd at times, especially when MJF came out, but they popped pretty big for, you know, these guys coming out. It seemed like they were really into the show. and seeing these people live, and that helped things. And they're really trying with Jungle Boy or Jack Perry. I mean, they haven't got rid of Jungle Boy yet. That'll be the big move when they get rid of Jungle Boy and just call him Jack Perry or Jungle Jack, whatever.
How about Jungle Jack? And then he could have his partner, Jim, could come in and be Jungle Jack and Jungle Jim.
And then he'll call him Jungle Jack off.
Well, there you go.
I like it.
All righty. So Officer Barbrady was in the back with Don Fallis and Kenny Olivier. And real briefly, last week, Don Fallis took a bump on purpose, tried to blame wanted Kenny to blame Adam Page. Now Don is saying that he lost his balance and, it was just an unfortunate thing. But why did Kenny assume that his good friend Hangnail Adam Page attacked him? Why was that your first thought? And Don's going to go over and smooth things over with Adam Page. So maybe this is their thread of intrigue for the show, right? So explain to me the video with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn and the Jericho Jobbers, the Daddy Mac Daddy and Cool Hand Luke. What was happening there? And Hager?
I'm not exactly sure. It just kind of popped up on the screen. I don't know what the buildup was. If there was something where the Jericho people won the Acclaimed for a day, like made for a day. I'm not sure what it was, or if it was set up on one of the other shows, but all of a sudden, this Buddy video popped up.
Well, they were together. They were having dinner. They were having fun at a ball game. They were at an amusement park. And they were saying things, but it was incoherent. And speaking of incoherent, there was a 6-man tag team match with Dalton Castle and the boys against the BBC. And Dalton Castle and the boys got about halfway to the ring. And then the former babyface, now heel BBC, jumped him in the aisle, beat him up on the floor. The corpse referee stood in the ring, hands askew and mouth agape again. And Claudio beat one of the boys, beat a boy with a power bomb, and they left. Thoughts?
This is Moxley's dream. Just let me come in there and kill everyone, and then I leave.
It'll be so cool.
It'll be so cool. It'll
rock.
It'll be like Rambo.
It'll really rock. It'll be cool. So then Barbrady was in the back with Hangnail. And he's asking, the Buckaroos are still banged up. They got carted off in the Wambulance last week, and they're still banged up. And now Barbrady asked who did it. And Brian, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what Adam Page responded when Barbrady said who beat up the Bucks?
He said it was the Blackpool fellows, didn't he?
Yes. And then what was the next thing he said?
I don't remember. What did he say?
He said the BBC.
Did he really?
Go back and goddamn.
I didn't notice that.
I dare anybody. Go back and I rewound it 3 or 4 times. He said BBC as big as fucking Christmas. And then here came Don Fallis, and he apologized sincerely for causing this trouble and blah, blah, blah. And suddenly the BBC jumped Page, and they're kicking the shit out of him, and Callis is just standing there. And finally, he offers his hand to Moxley, and Moxley nails fucking Don, and Don goes down. And apparently, he wasn't supposed to, but when he took the bump off camera, he bashed his head into something and busted his own head open. And when the camera panned down at the end of the thing, going to the break, he's in a pool of blood. So now Moxley, if he just touches people, they bleed somehow.
Last week on the show, I think it was last week, the Blackpool Combat Club were fighting with the Dark Order in a match, and then apparently all throughout the arena, throughout the show, so they were able to come back out at the end, right? Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? I forget.
2 weeks, whatever, yeah.
So they're always doing this. This week, Moxley has this match where they just destroy Dalton Castle and his boys. And then the next segment starts, and they just go back there and kick the shit out of him, too. This is Moxley's dream booking program. Every single segment is, I kick the shit out of this guy, and then I kick the shit out of this guy.
Somebody said on Twitter today, said Moxley reminds them of Al Bundy, continuing to talk about his touchdowns at Polk High. And you know what? And he is starting to look a bit facially and with his hairline like fantastic comedic actor Ed O'Neill. So
he's a badass though. Ed O'Neill's a black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, that's true, but for the sake of play acting, Ed O'Neill was a badass that play acted as an idiot. And Moxley's an idiot that play acts as a badass. So they share certain characteristics. Anyway, so now not Moxley, but geez, back to Don Fallis has been left in a pool of his own blood, of his own making. Whatever he hit on the way down. And they
like
come
Rocky
back.
3.
Just like Rocky 3.
Mickey, yeah.
And poor Mickey. Now it was supposed to be Jose Lothario at the Alamo Dome, but Sean didn't like that either. But anyway.
I got 2 words for you. Eye of the Tiger.
All right, smartass. So the point is now suddenly Tony Schiavone wanting to be the bearer of bad tidings. Kenny Olivier is about to go out and defend his prestigious, in some circles, IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. And they get a shot of him in the back, and Tony Schiavone runs up to him with the microphone and says, Kenny, I know you got a big match, but I just thought you'd know that Don and Hangnail have been attacked in the back by the BBC. And, of course, he turns around and goes, Don's been attacked? Didn't say anything about Hangnail. But then Tony said, well, we know you've got a big match, but we thought you should know. And then he's like, but I've got to concentrate. And he goes back into his zone. So he's completely distracted in this whole thing.
And by the way, this is one of those times where Omega's acting is kind of right. Like, what the fuck? Why are you running up to me with this microphone to this camera to tell me this now? Right now?
We thought you should know.
That should be Schiavone's new gimmick. He just confronts people backstage with information at bad times.
By the way, your house has just been taken away by a tornado. We just thought you should know. Your wife was leaning out the second floor window screaming, help me, as the fucking thing went up in the air. But we thought you should know.
Good luck with the match.
Good luck, yes. May the best man win. Hope you're on your game out there. All right. So the U.S. title match, another championship belt on the program, was Kenny against Jeff Cobb. So again, this Jeff Cobb is interesting. And what they do is they bring him in every 6 to 12 months so that he can do a job for somebody. And I am seeing a lot of him, but I'd rather see some of him than a lot of these people I'm seeing every week. But nobody gives a shit because he comes in every 6 months and somebody beats him. Idle question, is Twinkle Toes going bald, or is it that stupid top knot on his head that pulls it back, makes him look like Pippi Longstocking, that is just causing it? It's almost like his head is being drawn to a point.
Oh, so you're not saying you see a bald spot. You're saying that the
hairline.
The hairline is
all being pulled back into whatever the fuck that apparatus is up there.
That would be something. You ever think about a bald Omega?
I've never thought about Omega, much less so, unless it's foisted off in front of me here. So Jeff Cobb's strength, very impressive. He looks like an in-shape version of Apache Bull Ramos facially. Did you get that? Did you see that?
I could see it now that you say it.
He's got a good heelish attitude, and he's trying in this thing. And they go through a break, obviously, and he got the heat on Kenny, and then Kenny made his comeback, and the faces and the gesticulating, and he's got the most awkward, unnatural way of movement for a pro wrestler that I've... And he throws punches like Aunt Lola. So we got to the end of this thing. I wrote the note, if Cobb was winning, I'd say they were pushing the right guy, but I knew that was not going to happen. So, and Cobb's V-trigger even looks better. he's got a hell of a fucking leg on him. But anyway, finally, Kenny hit the one-wing fairy 1, 2, 3 right in time for 9 p.m. Because at that point, here comes the BBC, and they surround the ring like they're going to kick the shit out of Kenny. But here comes Bryan Danielson and gets in the ring and waves him off, says, get away from this man. Stay away, hold on. And he helps Kenny up, gives him his hand, helps him up. And then turns around and gives him the big flying knee. Boom. And now they're kicking the shit out of Kenny. And Harpo's selling like he's really going to be playing a harp with the rest of the Angels. He's just, oh my God, they sent some people down to try to help out, but they got wiped out and never attempted to get back up. So I guess they were all poisoned by curare or something. But anyway, in the middle of all that, the one thing I loved was Danielson's in the ring. He gets the label lock, whatever, on Kenny, and then just grabs, instead of a crossface, just grabs him up under his nose and hits a single bicep with the other arm while he's got fucking twinkle nose by the honker. And, what a fucking heel. And they go off the air with the BBC, intimidating everyone, and Danielson screaming, not off the air, but to the break, Danielson screaming at Kenny, you're everything that's wrong with wrestling. I thought heels were supposed to lie, didn't you?
Traditionally, yes.
But so now we get Bryan as a heel again. But now there's 4 people in this fucking group. Can't they sacrifice Wheeler Useless to the fucking pagan gods or something? Like they do over in Blackpool?
I think first we got to get to Blood and Guts with the Elite and Adam Page.
Oh, God damn it.
Against the Blackpool Combat Club, and we'll see whose side Don Callis is on. I said it before as a joke, but it's true now that 2 weeks in a row, a show-long storyline. That's what I'm trying to say there. That's the Bloodline. This is the Mudline. Got the Mud Show guys over here doing the Mudline.
Oh. Well, speaking of mud, let's sling a little. For the international title, following the U.S. title. See, now Kenny, he's only the U.S. champion. But old Pockets, he's the international champion. Pockets is now 26-1 in his last 27 matches with 16 straight wins. And meanwhile, Powerhouse Hobbs is not on the program, and Generalissimo Francisco Franco is still dead. So, Pockets is wrestling the Butcher with the Baker. But the Baker attacks Pockets before the bell, and both the heels rough him up, and then the Baker pulls out a collapsible police baton, which the announcers, I think it was Excalibur, but I'm surprised Taz didn't know what was going on, but Sockface, I think, referred to it as a crowbar. Apparently, he has not had as much interaction with the fucking police as one would think from a guy that wears a mask out in public. But he takes a collapsible police baton, does the Baker, and is going to fucking whack Pockets with it. So the referee, taking authority upon himself, kicks the Baker out of ringside. For they've just jumped this guy. Now they've got a goddamn weapon and they're attempting to fucking mug him, and that's the punishment that the referee, okay, you can't stay ringside. You think? And then the referee asks Pockets, you want to wrestle? And rings the bell, and instantly Pockets is 100% running and ducking and dodging. The way that works is if the babyface doesn't want to lose their chance at a title, not two guys have just attacked me that I'm supposed to be wrestling one of them, and they beat me up, and now I'm supposed to fight the other with that. So anyway, to the finish, I got to tell the finish. Normally I wouldn't pay it much attention to the comedy portion of the program, the cheetah segment of the Tarzan movie. But the finish is the Baker comes back out and hits Pockets in the back with the police baton. And then the Butcher, the 300-pound man, hits this idiot with a backbreaker, gets a 2 count. And then Muffin Top and Cupcake run down and jump on the Baker. And Cupcake hits the Butcher with the baton and rolls him in the ring, and Pockets uses Roman Reigns' Superman punch, 1, 2, 3. So the baton worked on a 300-pound man, but not a 160-pound gas station attendant. Page 4.
All right.
What'd you think of Willow and Ruby So-So?
Well, let me just say on the last match, because obviously I didn't watch it, because who gives a shit about any of that? But someone had a great comment in the Cult of Cornette Facebook group, and I wish I had the person's name in front of me. The Butcher now looks like the love child of Hard-Boiled Haggerty and the Swedish Chef. But I didn't watch the next match either, Willow and Ruby. I only had so much time.
Okay, well, real quickly, Ruby So-So came out with Saraya and Tony. They're the outcasts now. And of course, Ruby wins. Instead of painting Willow, they were going to put her leg in a chair and break it. This kind of angles the girls are doing. They wonder why the fucking guys' angles can't get over, because they're trying to break each other's legs over in the women's division. But before they could break the leg, here came Blue Sky and Rijo. And they hit the ring, and guess what happened, Brian? The heels cut them off and kicked the shit out of them too. And I was so happy to see that. Because Rijo didn't have her lead pipe. Apparently, it was confiscated over at the gate at the airport.
The Blade took it to help the Butcher.
Well, no, Rijo carries a 4-foot-long
I know.
imitation lead pipe. The police baton looked legitimate, but it was only about 18 inches and black. All right, so anyway, the heels are kicking the shit out of Rijo and Blue Sky, and Willow's still down there somewhere. And they grabbed Rijo, and they were about to paint her, and then Jamie Hayter music played. This the 7th girl to join this slumber party, and she hit the ring, and for 20 seconds, Jamie Hayter was the most exciting wrestler on the planet. It looked stiff too, but she kicked a shit out of all 3 of these heels, and they bailed out. And it looked, like I said, it looked great. And then apparently out of all of this, okay, now let me just recap. Ruby So-So beats Willow in a heelish manner, and then they go to break her leg, Ruby and Saraya and Tony. So Willow could be mad at all 3 of them, right? But here comes Blue Sky and Rijo to make the save. So Blue Sky and Rijo are obviously on Willow's side, and they're mad at Ruby and Saraya and Tony. But when Hayter comes out, she kicks the shit out of Ruby and Saraya and Tony, so she should be on the side of Blue Sky and Rijo and Willow, right? Right?
You would think.
Guess what match we're getting next week on TV?
I saw the graphic.
Jamie Hayter versus Rijo. What? So Hayter sticks her hand out and Rijo accepts it. And then Rijo stands there and makes the belt sign around her waist. She can actually put both of her hands on her hips, and she's touching her thumbs and fingers around her waist. She's 1 foot shorter and 60 pounds lighter than Jamie Hayter, and that's not making Jamie Hayter out to be fucking Nicole Bass. And that's the match that we get on TV after all of these multiple fucking angles.
And you know what the problem is? Jamie Hayter ran out there. The crowd went crazy for her. She looked great in there. Look, the crowd is what made her. That's what turned her. Even though the turn was botched, she should have turned on Britt, and they should have gone with her as a babyface and not worried about all this outcast fake NWO crap. But she runs out there, super over, saves Rijo, who just got her ass kicked, and rightly so by the heels. Now she's going to go have a competitive match, and it'll go like 12 minutes with her. That's the problem.
Yes, and that little ungrateful bitch, Rijo.
But don't call her that.
Well, what am I supposed to think when she was about to be painted green, and suddenly this girl comes out and runs her attackers off, and the first thing she does is, well, not say, hey, thank you for saving my ass, but I want your belt.
Well, she didn't say anything. The matchmaker did something.
No, Rijo is standing there going, the belt around the waist, the universal symbol that Vince McMahon despises.
Oh, I stopped watching by that point. I didn't see
that.
Okay.
She's standing there looking at Jamie Hayter going, belt around waist movement with hand. Vince would fired her on the spot for that. He hates that. Oh, fuck.
Really?
That's why you'd never see anybody up there do it, or very rarely.
So you can't. So it's not just that you can't say belt, you can't even mime a belt.
I don't even like that anymore. It's so overdone and it was so out of place here. And it looked like Rijo had just learned sign language and was like, please, may I have water? I don't, what the fuck? Anyway. So then we had very brief, pre-taped Powerhouse Hobbs comments. And that was his contribution to the television program.
At least it wasn't QTV. Step in the right direction. It wasn't QTV.
It wasn't good TV either.
You know what's funny? Every time they start and stop things with Hobbs, it always ends up with just some video in the shadows of him like at night. Yeah. It always comes back the same way.
And finally, we are at our main event. And ladies and gentlemen, when I say that the anticipation for this match is off the charts, I am lying. The anticipation for Adam Cole's return has been growing, and people have been following his progress and wanted to see him come back, and they like him and his entrance. They're overjoyed to see him back. But his first match back after 276 days, as they mentioned to us, is against Daniel Garcia. I'm not saying that Adam shouldn't start back with a number of good, decisive wins in 7 or 8 minutes. Nice competitive little thing and, get some wins. But his first match back, one would think, they tried to make it a big deal when they, bought out Party Mart of the streamers. But, and when Garcia made his entrance, the air was sucked out of the room after Adam Cole's. And this was the television main event. They're going strictly on, will everybody stick around to see Adam's first match back? But we didn't do anything to give him an interesting first match back. And, he's in cardio shape, and he was tanned, and he can work. And it was maybe a little bit rusty at the start.
Tanning isn't lifting.
Well, I'm just saying,
Tanning isn't lifting.
He's doing the other cosmetic things. I was trying to do the compliment sandwich. He's in cardio shape. He's got a tan. He can work. He maybe was a little bit rusty at the start. But
do you think maybe he there are certain people I'm not going in a political direction here, but they said Donald Trump doesn't believe in exercise. He thinks that wears you down actually, as opposed to the opposite. Do you think maybe Adam Cole thinks weightlifting is bad for the body?
Look at the pictures when he was in NXT and look at now. And I know he's had a rough go with the concussions, and we were talking about it either earlier in this marathon program or the last show we did. If it's medical, I can understand that, but he was getting smaller before he was off all this time. And he had a look and a presence and some type of physique in NXT that is not looking the same here now, is what I'm saying. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter because this match was not any good. And I hate to say that because I like Adam, but I'm not a fan of Garcia because fuck, if he was in some wonderful indie circuit somewhere where he might get some experience, but he was foisted off on us again like everybody is. He appears and you can't get rid of him. He never wins, but he's on every show in every match.
No, he wins. He beat Danielson.
No, but listen to me. Remember when he first showed up, he beat nobody. He was on every show. We're like, where the fuck did this guy come from and why can't we get rid of him? And after they beat him into powder, then he starts winning. And then they put him in a fucking group as a stooge and blah, blah, blah. But nevertheless, within 2 minutes of this match, Garcia picks up Adam Cole and gives him a fucking pile driver right on top of his head. Adam rolls out to the floor, and the referee, instead of starting a count, goes out to check on him. And that's the break spot. So within 2 minutes of this thing, Adam Cole, who is coming off concussions, I know they're trying to tell his story, but he's also coming off, we ain't seen this motherfucker wrestle in 9 months. And you've just pile drived him flat on top of his head 2 minutes into the goddamn match. And then they're gone in the break. When they come back, within 15 seconds, he's making a comeback, Adam Cole, and hits the big move or drops the guy on back of his head on the knee, 2 count. So now he's coming back. We've only seen 2.5 minutes of this fucking match. And that's what it ended up being. There was very little shine. There was a microscopic amount of heat that we saw on television. And then they did a fucking 8-minute back and forth finish that would just, at one point, Garcia hits a big German suplex and boom, and goes for a super kick, and Cole is up and hits his own super kick and gets a 2 count. Or then Cole's in a leg lock, the heels submission hold, and gets a rope break. And then Adam's selling and Garcia does nothing. And then he argues with the crowd. And then he goes up on the ropes to glorify to the crowd. And then the referee comes over and tells him something. And then he goes back to Adam Cole. It's like a minute later, nothing happened. Did he get lost? What the fuck? Then he goes back over, picks him up, and gives him another pile driver for a 2 count. And the very next move made by either one of these guys after Garcia pile drives Cole for a 2 count is Cole gets up and super kicks Garcia and hits the Panama Sunrise after he just got pile drived. And then the knee to the back of the head, 1, 2, 3. How did Garcia get lost, go blank? It doesn't matter anyway. How can Adam Cole, with the experience that he's got, justify the sequence of whatever the fuck happened, unless that's not what was supposed to happen? And then Britt Baker came out and hugged him. And then the streamers dropped. It looked like Luger at SummerSlam.
That's the same thing I thought.
And then Jericho came out, picks up Garcia, and does the dramatic thing twice, once at the ring and once on top of the ramp, where he looks backwards over his shoulder derisively at Adam Cole, slowly and derisively. Dramatic foreshadowing. So poor Adam Cole. The young, most popular fucking guy now in the company is coming back. So you just know Chris Jericho got to get him some of that. The adrenochrome of Adam Cole.
You knew that as soon as they booked him with Garcia. It was all about Jericho. Like, that was the clue right there. For me, there's 2 different things. There's the good story of Adam Cole, who everyone universally says is the sweetest guy in the world. You talk to wrestlers, like, he's such a sweetheart. Yeah. This guy. They all love him. And it's good that he's healthy enough to be in the ring wrestling. But on the other hand, one, I'm going to get real tired real quick if he's going to have to sell possible concussions every single match. Because that's what he did several times here. Every time he went to the ground, he was holding his head. And the other thing is,
one would have thought a pile driver would have even more effect then, wouldn't one? But nevertheless.
Well, you never know what it will be later in the day. Obviously, the pile driver kicked things in, and that caused the super kick. But Adam Cole, for me, is one of the big exposés personally in how I feel about wrestlers superficially. I said it a couple weeks ago. I'm all for fat guys in wrestling. I like a variety of body types and people and personalities. When I watch Adam Cole, especially in there with Garcia, who, looks athletic but doesn't have any sort of remarkable. I don't think you would see that guy walking down the street and go, "That's a wrestler." Not that that's a.
But next to Adam, that's a big fucking guy.
Man, he's just so small, and his arms are so small, and there's no muscle tone in his legs, and the fake tan looked all right, but even that wasn't perfect. And again, tanning isn't lifting. And then, like I saw it several times at the end when he went for a few of the kicks. The thigh slaps, the thigh slaps that I really have a problem with are the ones where you could just see the guy holding his hand above his thigh, waiting to slap it. Like, that's where I have a problem with it. Otherwise, if you do it right, you do it right.
Yeah.
But when you could see the guy waiting to do it, that takes me out of it. And, I want to root for the guy.
Besides that, if he don't stop losing thigh, he's going to have a hard time hitting it.
Very, very good point. Well, you win 2 points for you. But they're going to probably go all the way with him. I'm pretty sure they'll set him up for MJF if this babyface thing works out. Now they're going all the way with him and Britt. Apparently, I didn't see the reality show yet, but it was all about Britt and him.
We're going to be forced at some point to at least weigh in with an opinion on that thing. I have a feeling, but I'm not in a hurry.
You didn't watch it either?
I just, if I only had time.
But I don't know. I want to root for the guy on a personal level, but just because he doesn't have a silly gimmick like Orange Cassidy doesn't mean it doesn't look to some of us as ridiculous in terms of him being in there. It just doesn't. I can't think of anyone I used to play sports with that looked that out of shape, or not even out of shape, just
not out of shape, just
not in shape.
No shape.
No shape.
He's in shape.
Video game shape.
He's in cardio shape. I mean, he could run circles around me at least. I don't know about you. I know you're ex-marathon running and, the fucking dog sled thing you used to do, the Iditarod. But the point is, he's hardly there. He's getting smaller.
And for the first match back, again, I go back to the traditional wrestling stuff because sometimes that is what works best. Should he have had a competitive match with a Daniel Garcia or anyone? Or should he have come in there against someone and win definitively quickly? Make people want to see more, not sell his head yet. Hit a couple of impressive moves, celebrate with his girl. Jericho gets to do his dramatic acting from the Cody Rhodes Acting Academy. Here's Chris Jericho.
Well, you're right. There was a couple of things I would have done. A couple of things depending on the time frame. If there was a pay-per-view coming up anywhere near, I would have had his return on pay-per-view and give him some type of legitimate opponent that he could do 10 minutes with and still win. Or if you're going to put it on TV, like you said, maybe 6 minutes and decisively, but not a top guy that he almost gets the shit kicked out of him for the majority of the match and Hail Mary wins it. I don't understand that choice.
It's kind of like Rocky V. Rocky's a little punch drunk and he's back in Philadelphia. And he's living with Paulie and he meets Tommy Gunn and then they fight in the street with a bus. Can we get a bus, Tony? How much for a bus for the fight?
You know what? Plumber Moxley ought to be a character on South Park. I've heard that the tone in your voice there when you're doing it. He could be the evil Cartman. Or Plumber Bundy. Maybe we'll just change his name to Plumber Al Bundy. All right. We don't have ratings yet. So we're possibly going to do an addendum if we can get the ratings in time, right?
We will indeed addend.
Addend?
We will have an addendum later in the show, possibly with the ratings, but right here we'll have another one of our little time travel moments. Well, Jim, we return once again. I feel obligated to say that, although if you're listening to the show, we're just here. We're still here, but we return with the ratings.
What the hell have you been doing for the time warp thing? Doodling on your diddleator? There, that That melodious tone,
This
or
toying, yes.
melodious tune.
We're off to such a good start here.
Yeah.
We're delirious. We've recorded a lot.
I can't wait to hear about these ratings. Tell me about the ratings. As Thurston Howell III over there at WrestleNomics got the ratings now?
Well, the ratings are up and they are around. And of course, the quarter hours that we'll talk about were compiled by Brandon Thurston. But the overall rating this week for AEW Dynamite, March 29th, 2023, 833,000 viewers.
Ouch. That's down from last week, as I recall. These things fluctuate so greatly these days.
And Jim, I have the quarter hours. Of course, the show began, as it always does, at 8 p.m. From 8 to 8:15 p.m., quarter one, Matt Hardy versus Jungle Jack Perry with picture-in-picture and the beginning of the MJF Live promo. 962,000 viewers.
Ooh. Are people losing faith in the Big Bang Theory? Is the lead-in evaporating? Or are the Big Bangers, are they getting smart to what's going on and just bailing right at 8 o'clock?
Have you ever tried to watch that show?
Yes. Tried. Many times. I don't like any of those people. They're not endearing to me. I wish them ill. I root for their failure.
Okay.
I fart in their general direction.
You took it right down to street level. But quarter two, 8:15 to 8:30 p.m., continuation of the MJF Jack Perry confrontation, Kenny Omega and Don Callis' backstage angle, and an advertising break, it says here. 881,000 viewers.
Ouch. Okay, so right off the bat, another 81,000 people said sayonara.
Quarter three, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., the acclaimed Matt Menard Angelo Parker video.
Yeah, how could that even be described as a video? It was like a montage of phone clips.
Dalton Castle and the Boys versus the Blackpool Combat Club, Kenny Omega and Jeff Cobb video package, Hangman Adam Page and Don Callis getting beat up by the Blackpool Combat Club, and the beginning of Omega versus Cobb, 853,000 viewers.
That was a busy 15 minutes, and 28,000 more people got confused.
Quarter four, 8:45 p.m. to 9 p.m., Kenny Omega versus Jeff Cobb continued with picture-in-picture and the post-match angle with the heel turn of Bryan Danielson. 835,000 viewers.
Jesus, and another 18,000. So now we're down in the first hour. They've lost 127,000 by my calculations.
The 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter five, the Guns video package, and Orange Cassidy versus the Butcher with picture-in-picture, 847,000 viewers.
So good old Pockets brought 12,000 people back into the fold. Good old Pockets. What a good puppy dog.
Quarter six, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m., the finish of Pockets versus the Butcher, the post-match, Jade Cargill and the Baddies backstage promo.
Oh, God, I fast-forwarded through that.
That was all right.
It looked like a police lineup.
Other than Sterling being involved, it was all right.
That's what made it look like a police lineup, with that fucking Weasley-looking shyster in there.
Juice Robinson's backstage promo, and Ruby Soho.
Oh, geez, I must have thought he was a commercial on Fast Forward.
And Ruby Soho versus Willow Nightingale with picture-in-picture, 820,000 viewers.
And 27,000 more left.
Quarter seven, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m., the final 4 minutes of Soho versus Nightingale, the post-match angle with the Outcasts, Rijo, Sky Blue, and Jamie Hayter, and the Powerhouse Hobbs backstage promo.
Yeah, he was in a fucking dark closet And he got like 20 seconds of comments to make. How can that even be a backstage promo?
It's all right. No one saw it. 747,000 viewers.
Oh, boy, howdy. There goes another rubber tree plant. There goes 73,000 more people. So we are now down 15,000 people from the start of the program. Is there anywhere left to go? What was the main event? Oh, my God.
8:15.
They set him up in the death slot here, apparently.
9:45 to 10 p.m. Adam Cole versus Daniel Garcia with picture-in-picture, and the post-match celebration with Britt Baker and Chris Jericho's emoting.
Chris Jericho's side-eye.
719,000 viewers.
Oh, my God. So,
and remember, there was an AEW reality show on after this, so it wasn't like Power Slap was after this. It was more AEW content to come.
Yeah, because Power Slap has got power slapped. But yeah, the AEW folks weren't sticking around for I guess we don't have numbers on that yet.
Actually, I just saw them. Give me a minute. I'll pull them up.
Hold on. Well, in that case, while you're pulling your number, I will just remark that they started at 962,000 and finished at 719,000. And that is a drop of 243,000 people, which, if I'm just doing quick math in my head, would be 30 to 35% in that window of the audience left by the end of the program.
Give me a second. I'm pulling it up right now.
Well, geez, how long does it take you to pull that thing up? You're not as young as you used to be.
It wasn't where I thought it was. Okay, the premiere episode of AEW.
I keep mine in the same place all the time.
All Access drew 328,000 viewers.
Woo! So even
handsome.
Woo, mercy. That's what Tony Khan said. Daddy, mercy on me, Daddy. I'm sorry, Daddy. Brother, howdy. So basically the 719,000 most diehard AEW viewers that sat through that program, then better than half of them said, oh, fuck no, we're not going to watch anything about behind the scenes about AEW, which apparently from what we hear on the internet is the most interesting part about AEW. Perhaps it's because that this stuff was approved by AEW, even though it's probably an expose. We haven't seen it yet. It's probably embarrassing. Bunch of fucking whiny-ass little hand-wringers, fucking stressing about their horrible lives since they're all young and making money and working for a billionaire. And almost 400,000 of the people that were left at the end of the program said, you know what? Nah.
What does this say about Adam Cole?
Well, I was going to say, what does it say? It doesn't say anything about Adam Cole. My God,
What was the NXT number? What was the NXT number when he was on top?
Probably around the same thing or a little bit better, because that's when they were head to head, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But what I'm saying is, it doesn't say anything about Adam Cole. If you put Adam Cole against fucking Rooster Cogburn, there's some limit. Who wanted to see him against Daniel Garcia, and a reason manufactured just because it was his first match back? That's what we were talking about. Either make it big against a more top guy, put it on pay-per-view if possible, or elsewise just give him a fucking convincing win, but they kissed their sister in the middle there.
Anyone who saw El Hijo del Vikingo, if that's how you pronounce it, excuse me if I got it wrong, last week on the show and said, oh, I want to see that guy again, he was impressive, not a sign of him on this show.
And they sat there and they said, well, El Hijo del Bicho. I can't find that son of a gun. But anyway, so yeah, and then 328,000 is the overall number for the reality show. We can assume that it started high and ended lower just simply because now we're 10 to 11, right? Yeah, so we're 10 to 11. We're still we're fighting attrition of sleep at that point. So my God, they could have been the first wrestling promotion in history over a 3-hour block of their programming to lose 600,000 out of their 900,000 viewers. Amazing.
Well, another banner week for AEW, and we'll be here to talk about it next time it happens. But let's get back.
We'll be covering them like a fucking Undertaker covering our latest handiwork.